So there's a few things that POTS is not. POTS is not a psychiatric disorder. There is nothing wrong with you up here. Now, it is associated with anxiety sometimes because it causes anxiety. If you stand up and your heart rate skyrockets, it feels like a panic attack in your body. It does. It feels like a panic attack in your body. The difference is it doesn't start like up here. It doesn't start with these catastrophic thoughts where you get, tremors and chest pain or, whatever people with panic attacks feel after that, but it's not psych. It's not all in your head, because that is something that we have all heard, right? I heard it as a kid. I heard it over and over again. And even still, I have to fight that little voice. Sometimes I'll have these drop attacks. I didn't know drop attacks were a thing. But when I first had this really bad, what is it, a relapse? What do they call it? I call it a relapse or an exacerbation. It started like late November, early December. And I was falling. Like my body would just suddenly get so weak that I would just fall. But I wasn't passing out. And I wasn't even necessarily blacking out. I was just falling. And I was like, Christy, are you being dramatic right now? Like, think about this really hard. Like, you just dropped. You just dropped, but you're totally conscious. You're totally there up here. And that little voice, the little voice of the doctors when I was a kid saying it's all in your head, that came back to me. And I'm like, Christy, what are you doing? Are you really, are you actually crazy? I started to question myself just for a second, just for a millisecond. But now, I know better. I know better. But it's hard to fight that when you've been told that. And it's hard to fight that when if you're told something over and over and over again, no matter how crazy it is, sometimes a little part of you starts to believe it. But there are a few things that POTS is not, and that's one of them. All in your head. It's not fake. It's not psych. It's not all in your head. And you did nothing to cause it. What it also is not is a disease in itself. Unless you break down that word in like dis-ease, I like to take apart words and just like look up specific words and just kind of make connections. But there are underlying conditions that cause it. And that's where something that POTS is comes in. And something that POTS is a challenge. And I don't mean a challenge in the sense that, it challenges you physically and emotionally because it, makes you feel like death. It's a challenge because you gotta find that specialist. You gotta find the underlying disorder, and you can't do that. You can't do it yourself. You need medical help, and it is not likely that your doctor is equipped to help you with that. So I found my specialist on Dysautonomia International. There's a list, but you can look up autonomic specialists online. There's not that many of them. There's not any in my state. So I have to travel 2 hours to see mine, which, is not that bad. But, and they can dig and they can do a lot of weird testing. And sometimes I don't think they can figure it out. A lot of times they can, because there's a lot of really weird testing that they do. They have autonomic labs, and they don't have those everywhere. But there's another thing that POTS is not that I didn't mention because I don't have a list in front of me. I don't have a script. I'm just talking to you. POTS is not who you are. Okay? Dysautonomia is not who you are. You do all the things that you want to do. If you realize you can't do them, make modifications to your lifestyle. We're all going to have to at some point. We're all going to get old. It sucks. But we kind of deal. And that sounds like harsh, especially for a newbie. But I want to encourage the newbies to just not give up, because you'll get there. You'll get there. You'll figure it out. You have to educate yourself. You have to advocate for yourself. If something is not right and you tell your doctor over and over again and they dismiss you or send you to psych, find another doctor. It's okay. It is okay. There are great doctors out there. There are bad doctors out there. There are great doctors who make mistakes. There are good doctors that just don't know. They don't know, because this wasn't taught to them. This was not taught to them in medical school. It wasn't. It was not. Especially 40 years ago, 30 years ago. Hopefully it's taught. God, I hope it's taught now. I would hope. But it's complicated and they probably just don't know. You have to do the digging yourself, and you can. You can, I promise. And something that POTS can be is motivational. It makes you a fighter. My dad had dysautonomia. He didn't know he had it. He knew he was sick as hell. He was so sick that I know my mom said that on their wedding day, she was just worried about him getting down the aisle, like getting to the front, standing there and making it through the day. He's 6'1.5", he's tall, and he was like 130 pounds. He was sick for a couple decades, and he fought through college. He fought through grad school. He fought through getting his PhD and becoming the rock star scientist that he is today. I fought through college and law school, and had to fight a lot of things. But then there is a line between fighting and submitting. This is where I should prepare, because I feel like I could have a really good word for that, but I don't want to like stop and be not real with y'all. So submitting. I'm told my vessels, my connective tissue is bad. I have some disorder, or, it's different. It's wrong, or, a lot of bad stuff. So I started thinking of the word vessel yesterday. And instead of looking up, connective tissue disorders, which I'm not going to boggle my brain with when I'm going to see a doctor about it in, a week or two. But I looked up the word vessel. And vessels are not just the vessels of your body. A vessel is like three things. There's like three definitions for them. One is like a narrow, usually narrow, something that carries something. The vessels in your body, usually fluid, right? Blood. But also a boat. Anything larger than a rowboat, apparently, is a vessel, a ship. And also, it mentioned a human being. And that started to make me think. You're a vessel. I'm a vessel. What do you want to be a vessel for? What do you want to do with your life? What do you want to do with this? I'm not entirely sure. I know I'm scared right now. I know I relate to you when you say that you want it to stop, you just want it to be over. I've never been suicidal, but I have thought, I'm done. I want my heart out of my chest. It just happened night before last. I took off all my electrodes. I took off the patch that gets medication to my heart. I just started pounding on my chest because I don't know. It's just like something that almost like the pain of that takes away. Not that it doesn't, but it's a horrible feeling. It's a horrible feeling. But my vessels are bad. But it's not who I am. They're not all that makes up me. They're not all that makes up you. You are not your autonomic nervous system. You are not dysautonomia. You are not POTS. Yeah, this is what POTS looks like. Looks completely normal. But that's not who you are. And I know that if I'm a vessel, I want to be a vessel for whatever I'm meant to be, what's God's purpose for me and my life. And I want to be a vessel of communication and relation to you, as co-patients, as, you know, my sisters and brothers, mostly sisters, more common in women, in this disease, in this fight. But in the meantime, you have your life. Do you draw? Do you write? Do you paint? You have a family? You have a church? You have a community? Do you have these things? What do you have left? Do you have a sense of humor? My mom had 3 aneurysms when she was in her 40s. 2 of them blew. They ruptured, and they couldn't operate on her right away. And we thought she wasn't going to make it. And one thing she said to me is, she said, you can lose everything, you can lose your health, but you can't, nobody can take your sense of humor. I had to remind her of that recently. Keep it. Keep your sense of humor. Keep your fight. If you don't have a fight, if you don't have a drive, get one. I think that's about my thoughts for today. So, again, Godspeed.